Hi folks, welcome to another one of our short videos. Today I want to take you around this awesome Defender 90, which is fitted with an LS3 engine, so probably is one of the best upgrades you could ever make to a Defender. It's coming to us to add a few modifications, so I'll go through everything we've done, but initially it was for soundproofing. The laser linear 48 light bar, which sits up the top there, is one of their new models. A new front bumper with DRLs and full beam, and then we move around to the inside of the car. So first of all, I'm just going to show you the bumper and the mods we made there. This is the bumper that we took off. We see a lot of these bumpers, we don't like them very much, and actually if you look at some of our other videos, we've featured these bumpers and we've explained why we don't like them and demonstrated why they're no good. So a lot of the vehicle builders use these, I don't know why. They've got a cheap Chinese LED light in them. They don't throw out any light, they're very ineffective. The big problem with them is that they interfere with your DAB and FM radio. That's why we favour this bumper. This is made by Devon 44. Obviously it's fitted to the car at the moment, so I can't show you the weight difference, but this bumper's made of cheese. If you had an accident, it won't protect the corner of your vehicle, it's just going to fold up, whereas this is really seriously sturdy. It's also powder coated. And the light that we use in here is the Laser RS4, which comes with a 5-year warranty. It's a full beam light, it's got a DRL built on the top of it. Incidentally, they're about to phase that light out, so we need to find a replacement, but it will almost definitely, certainly be a laser product of some description. These bumpers, waste of time. I wouldn't even put it on eBay. I don't know why people use them. The next thing we've done in here, because the car's not used all the time, is add a trickle charger. So we use the C-Tech, great little bit of kit. It comes with a 5-year warranty again. This is only a 5-amp charger, but it's more than adequate for trickle charging this vehicle. And we use a magnetic clip. So I've just disattached this to the charger, and we put the clip just here. So that magnetises on. So the idea is that that's now trickle charging the car, or it would be if it was plugged in. If you accidentally forget it and back out of your garage, it just disconnects this, so it decouples. So that's really clever. Coming around to the inside of the car, see the super funky tunnel here and the push button gearbox, which is awesome. I think this was fitted by Twisted. It's a real nice bit of kit. The car's had a few other upgrades. It's had we carried out the soundproofing. Now, we were asked to check the soundproofing over because it had already been soundproof apparently, so we stripped the vehicle down, and what we found is it had been soundproofed, so fairly well actually, and probably 95% of the skin was covered with soundproofing. It's a very thin product, so here it is actually. It's not a branded product that we know. It's only probably a couple of millimeters thick. And one of the problems we found as we stripped the car down is that the glue had failed, which often happens with a cheaper product. So particularly in the roof, we had to remove some of the stuff that had peeled really badly. The stuff that had just lost its sticky, we had to treat with a heat gun and then re-roller. Now, although this vehicle had apparently been fully soundproofed, there was no foam product in it whatsoever, so you've only got one layer of treatment. So over this sort of thin soundproofing in the roof, we've then added our 6mm foam. What we've had to do is make sure the foam overlaps the initial product everywhere, so that we've got good purchase to the metal. Everything's obviously degreased first, that way that we know that the edges are not going to come down again. We've worked our way through the vehicle. The soundproofing over the rear arches, again, that same product just wasn't adequate, so we had to go over that with a second layer of heavy layer of product, which actually was skins in this case, and then the 6mm foam over the top of that. There was nothing under here, so we've had to go right through the gearbox, right over the floor pan, so we've gone over everything. There was quite a bit of soundproofing actually in this seat box area. We were asked to look at the hi-fi, in particular the dash panel here. Unfortunately, it's had a double DIN conversion and the hole's been cut too big in the dash, so when it came in, this just keeps falling out. There's no cure for that. It's either a new dashboard or it's got to be physically glued in. So in this case, we've actually glued it in, but we've done it really carefully and neatly, so you can't see any glue anywhere. The hi-fi system itself consists of some 6-inch woofers here, some 3-inch mids here and some tweeters here. Now, again, if you see some of our other videos, we do talk about this quite a bit. You can't really use a 3-inch here. The problem is it's all about a frequency response to the speaker. So this, because it's a 3-inch, it'll only run down to 250 hertz. We really want to put a 4-inch in there, which runs down to 150 hertz. That means this woofer has to roll all the way up to 250. Now, the way it's set up in here, it wasn't. There was a big gap between here and here, so you had a big lack of mid-bass. There was no real sub-bass coming from these woofers because all of the outputs were taken from the front line out of the head unit, and that was actually set to high-pass filter, so you were losing any deep bass. Now, that's one problem, but that's not the end of the world. But the real major problem, unfortunately, the speaker's been cut in the wrong place, so the magnet of the speaker was actually touching the positive terminal of the battery. I mean literally touching it. The only thing that had stopped it completely shorting out was the plastic cover, which had been wedged in between. Now, not only was this touching the back of the speaker, or they were a millimetre apart, but the battery was completely loose. The clamp hadn't been tightened. So imagine this, you're driving along, the battery's loose, it's moving all the time, it's slowly wearing through this red protector. You're driving down the motorway, you brake, this touches this. This is connected to the chassis of the car, this is a Viva battery. When that happens, they weld together. You've then got somewhere around 1,000 amps passing through the terminal of the battery, through the back of the speaker, through the chassis, through the 4 screws and back round. So several things are going to happen at that point. Either this is going to burst into flames, the battery terminal is going to melt, the carpet's going to burst into flames around here, all the aluminium's going to melt, all the screws are going to physically fry and explode like fuses, so that's going to break the contact. All the battery's going to boil. Battery boils, you've then got boiling acid puking out into the inside of the car. Whatever way you look at it, it's pretty bad. So we'd found a few little problems, but actually when we found that, we had to ring the customer and say that we couldn't let the vehicle go like it. Once we discovered it, we disconnected the battery. The options to fix it were either to put a plate over the whole front of the seat box, tiger bond and rivet it in, refit the speakers in the correct location and replace all the carpets, or the easiest solution actually was to make up these spacer rings. So in this case, we made up these 18mm spacer rings and moved the speaker forward 18mm to get them away from there. So never seen anything like that. That's quite bad. But we've dealt with it. We've also fixed the battery in properly. The second thing we found was there's a relay here. You can just see it. This relay we've relocated to this position. It was actually here. So when it was there, if you see the fuse in the top, the fuse was bent over at 90 degrees because the seat box lid was bending it over. Now, you might think, well, that's a fuse, so that's okay. It's definitely not okay. Those fuses are made of 2 plastic shells pressed together over the inside contacts. When you bend it over at 90 degrees, the plastic shells pop apart. I've seen it loads of times. So you think the fuse is going to blow. Well, no, it won't. One side of the fuse is going off to feed the car, and that's okay. The other side of the fuse, which is then pressed against the bottom of the metal, goes right back to the battery. So once again, what have you got? You've got a potential fire. It's bad. So we've relocated that and replaced the fuse and made that safe. A few other things we found, probably when the soundproofing was done, the riv nuts have all been spun out on the top here, so we've replaced that. They had self-tappers in there, so they were pretty loose and the mirror was wobbling about. We've replaced those with machine screws and riv clips on the back, so that's all done properly. In the back of the car, we've added our stainless steel finishes. The back speakers, incidentally, the left-hand speaker didn't work. When we pulled it apart to see what was going on, we discovered that in there, on the same piece of speaker cable, whoever installed the hi-fi had used one red butt and one blue butt. So the difference between those two connectors, one's designed for a 1.5mm cable, one's designed for a 2.5mm cable. Clearly, you can't use a red and a blue on the same gauge cable because it's either going to be too big or too small. And in this case, the blue had fell off. So that was why there was no audio to the back. So there you go. Let's go back around the front and kind of summarise the stuff we're talking about. So we found quite a few problems in this car which we've ironed out. It's often the case we're used to doing that. Some of the problems in this car are actually pretty major, this one being the frightening issue. So we're not here to put down other people's installations, but what we're here to do is to try and make you aware of what can happen in a car and how dangerous a little mishap like that can be. And that really is dangerous. I'm not exaggerating what could happen there. We're a Defender specialist. We've been a Defender specialist for many years. We take a huge amount of pride in what we do. I hope that comes across in our videos. And all we're saying to you is, you know, when you're looking to have a Defender built or a BMW built or all these mods taking place, just think really carefully about where you go. Make sure you pick your right vehicle builder. Make sure you pick your right modifier. Make sure you pick your right audio technician and electrical technician, because terrible things can happen. Now, I don't know who installed the system. I don't really care who installed the system. I know it was another well-known company. I don't need to know. I don't think the customer wants to share it with us, and even if he did, it's not important. What I would say is, just be careful out there. Keep an eye on our videos. If you've enjoyed what we talked about today and found it interesting, subscribe to our YouTube channel and maybe give us a like on this video. Thanks very much for watching.